Hey, witches!
Hey. Hi, hello.
I'm gonna apologize right off the bat. Emily says I don't sound weird, but I feel like I sound like a man because I have a cold and I'm probably gonna cough in your ears. So be ready for it.
Yeah, I didn't think you sounded bad.
No, that's
I'm
a fake cough.
sick.
Listen, you're gonna hear a real cough here in a minute, and you're gonna be like, "What is happening?"
She good. Anyways, so we were going to have a special episode. Unfortunately, the author was unable to make it. So we're sending good vibes to her and her hubby and their family emergency and hope everything's going to be okay.
Yes,
We would love to schedule her again. So we're going to work on that and see if we can get her on here so we can ask her questions that we have on
absolutely.
her book. But, anyways,
Her
so
name is Kat Gina Cole, and she is a psychic and witch who has written a book called Psychic Skills for Magic and Witchcraft. And she was kind enough to send us her book so we could learn from her and have her on our show, which hopefully we'll get to do soon.
yeah. And I grew up in small white town, very like religious home based kind of thing. So anything is very far fetched and like that's what we were raised on and that's how it is. And when I was like reading through the chapters of this, I saw some, typical witch words that really kind of was like, man, this is like a red flag. This is weird. But then like when you read it and you actually see the idea behind it, then you're like, oh, this makes complete sense. This is actually not, I mean, it's typical words that like you would recognize when talking about witches. But so
Yes.
I was pleasantly surprised and I really enjoyed the book. And I'm not a big on I call them self-help books, and I'm not really big on them. Um and maybe that's just like my upbringing, like very hush hush mental health kind of problems and work
I
in
kind
progress
of
kind of thing.
I kind of treated it like a textbook. I'm not gonna lie, especially because at the
Yeah.
tops of the pages, I printed it out because it's easy. I like reading physical copies of books. So
Mhm.
at the tops of the pages, it says "Into the Beyond Psychism 102." So I was kind of reading it like it was a textbook, and
Yeah,
thinking like that really helped me. I don't know,
kind
learn, I
of
guess,
like
or retain it.
separate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely felt like I was reading a textbook. It wasn't like bad per se, but I think it's just because I just got out of grad school. I'm used to reading things like this.
Yeah.
Um so I it
I
it, it
am a
was
very self-helpy person. I love self-help books. Hey, Brene Brown. Like, no, I'm all about self-help books. But I really enjoyed this one because she doesn't just talk at you and tell you what to do. She tells you how she did it as well.
yeah, and then she offers journal entries in
Yes.
specific dates so you can see like the growth between like this journal entry, and then it's like, well, she did this because she learned it earlier but now she's getting farther in this journey. um so yeah, there was I really enjoyed it. The first couple of chapters I think is more textbook kind like based basically, and the
Yes,
rest
but
of it is
I kind of liked that
yeah.
because it was very information heavy and like definitions and like there's a glossary in the first chapter, which my teacher heart loved having the vocabulary at the front. Like, I mean, that's how teachers work, right? We
Right.
front load the vocabulary so you know what we're talking about, and then we get
Right,
into the nitty
exactly.
gritty. So I really loved that all the vocabulary was at the beginning of the book.
Mhm.
Um, and then, like, then it gets into the exercises and the different things you could do.
Yeah, and I really liked it. Like, I especially liked having the table of contents and how it flowed into, like, each subject
Yeah.
because, I mean, paganism, witchcraft, whatever you wanna practice, there's so many different realms of it, and it's
Yeah.
it's kind of like, do you stay more on the scientific side of things, or do you want to do like the make believe, quote unquote? Um, like how are you going to balance this and make it make sense? And so it's really nice because like each chapter has like a specific content of what you're going to cover, and then it's got like different heading, like subheadings over what you're going to um go through that chapter. And then it starts getting down to the nitty-gritty things, and it's like, oh, this is actually like really
Yeah.
informative. And
And she takes you through it. Like, she explains what she's talking about. She talks about her
mhm.
experience, and then she gives you an exercise for how you can get better at it,
Right.
which
And
I think
then
is awesome.
and I really like, it's so weird to like have like a book published that's not um like uh like school based books or journal entries or anything like that, and have like a bibliography. And I
Yeah.
loved that this had a bibliography because it's like you're getting it from other sources. It's not like you're just saying this and hoping that you're right. Um, you're actually
And
building off of other people's experiences.
yes, and if there's something that you like were really into, or a chapter that you particularly resonated with or wanted to know more about, you can now go look at her sources and go learn even more about that subject by looking at her sources, which I really liked.
Yeah, and that really helps too. Like in college, that got me through college because I was like, okay, well, I need to focus more on this, but I need this section. So I'm going to go to this article that they talked about, get all my information there, and do like two or three things. Like that's how you get your sources.
I swear that's how I got through college writing research papers. Like, I would
Yeah,
look up one article or like peer reviewed paper and then look at their sources because I know that they had to use peer reviewed sources to write this
right.
paper. And
And it's really nice too because like Wikipedia not is not always whatever, but you can kind of get like a summary of it, and then you can
yeah,
use their references and then go to those things,
yes,
find their references, and you could just like dig a deep hole of references. It's great.
yes. Look at us being academics.
I know. Academia, here we are. Um but anyways, so overall, I really enjoyed it. Um
I did too.
and normally things like this really I struggle getting into. I'm just slow to catch on. I'm slow to just read it. But once I got to like chapter 5, I zoomed through it. And there's
Yes,
like
and I
11
feel like
chapters.
I felt like it's like she's there telling you the story because she
Yeah.
uses first person. It's like she's just sitting there talking to you. I'm very excited to hear her voice. I need to look up an interview that she did on a different podcast or something because I was imagining what her voice sounds like as I was reading through some of the exercises, and I'm really excited to get to speak to her and hear her voice.
Yeah. Um so
So
basically, oh, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say chapter two, which was mainly about like the ego and um, how we kind of let our ego control us and how to reverse that.
Social
It
conditioning.
really resonated with me. Yeah, like how to like let go of our conditioning that we've got. It was just very resonating with me because
Yeah.
I'm so often like I hate change. But do I hate change, or does that like controlling
The
part of my
social
mind, my
conditioning.
ego, hate
Yeah.
change? Yeah.
Well, and like I feel, and she talks a lot about how like people are raised, like how I wouldn't say society, but like the typical life basically. Um and it's so true because even stereotypes in certain movies is just like, here is the world, capitalism, whatever, just consistently working, working, working to the bone. One falls over, it doesn't matter. We'll put a replacement. It's like machinery. And I mean, that is social conditioning. You just do the same thing over and over again because that's what
Yeah.
you're conditioned to do.
And there are so
And
many movies that even like romanticize the 9 to 5 and the
yeah,
overworking. Like It happens a lot.
Yeah, and I felt like I was overworking at a essentially a 9 to 5 job, and now my schedule is not 9 to 5, but I don't feel overworked. I feel like I have a lot more energy to do the things that I want to do.
Yeah. Well, part of that is because your soul isn't being sucked out.
Yeah.
But we won't go there.
Yes. Yes. I'm also in a sunshine state, or a place with a lot of
Yeah.
sunshine.
Oh my goodness. Yes. So it's starting to get darker earlier here. It's dark when I leave for work. It's not quite dark when I get home, but it's getting there. I am not okay, guys. Seasonal affective disorder kicking in already. Brittany's been helping me. We went for a walk yesterday, a really short walk, but just to get out and get some sunshine, like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Will's made a point to like he first begged, now it's just like, hey, do you want to go for a walk? It's like, yeah, sure, let's go. Like, and honestly, I mean, he takes like 3 walks a day because he's doing like a slow change of lifestyle,
Yeah,
and
that's the
mine
way to
just
do
really
it though.
depends. Yeah. And like we're gonna start running. Like we have hard goals and soft
Ew.
goals and all of that. Yeah. I was like, I'm not happy about this. And he goes, yeah, because you're the type of person that's going to be like, well, I did this. I could push it a little harder. And then you get to the point where you just hate your life. And then you're just like, I'm never doing that again. He
That
goes,
does
if
sound
you,
like you.
yeah. And I thought about it a lot when I was reading this. I was just like, yeah, that's some negative thoughts. And I feel like I would probably like it more if I would just change my thought process, which Kat talks a lot about. Like talking about your negative self worth or your confidence, and changing that to a more positive outcome. And honestly, I felt like I was going through therapy, and I haven't had therapy in a couple of months. And so, like,
Oof.
it was really kind of refreshing because I was just like, yeah, I am capable of doing this. Like, I'm the author of my own story. Like, I can change things as needed. And I think it was really nice to just hear from somebody
Yeah.
else that's not, I mean, I know she like was a social worker, she worked with addictions and all that, but like just hearing that from somebody I don't know, that was just really nice, to like refreshing, like third party.
Not yes, and not only that, but I feel like so many therapists either stay away from spirituality, excuse me, in general because they don't want to offend someone, or
Hmm.
they steer towards Christianity, which is great if that's what you believe in and if that's what works for you, awesome. But it doesn't for me. I can't vibe with the magic man in the sky. I can't do it. So, um, I had this therapist when my very first therapist ever, um, introduced me to the law of attraction. And she
Oh,
was,
yeah.
yeah, she was very spiritual. If I had to guess, I'd say she probably practiced.
Yeah.
Um, but, obviously, as a professional psychologist or psychiatrist, she kind of shied away from it in her practice. Um, but she helped me a lot because she let me be me.
Right.
And she met me at my level and helped me from there, which is honestly, I still have the book that she recommended to me. It's just called Law of Attraction. And it's so real because the power of your thoughts is like huge. And I feel like Kat
Yeah.
kind of goes with that. Like she she continues on through it and teaches you how to get even more deep into those thoughts. But I really, I'm reading this book was reminded of that first therapist that I had.
Right. Yeah. And I really like it too because like she talks a lot about, I mean, she simplifies her examples in her how to's. It's really easy to follow. Like I was sitting here reading it and I was like, okay, picturing how I would do it. And Will thinks I have a processing disorder, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of agree with him because I'll hear it, but then I don't understand it until I'm told like 7 more times, and then it finally just clicks. Um, but I was able to actually follow along like no problems whatsoever. I didn't need any clarification, nothing. So that's really nice for any and everybody. Um, but also just learning to let go. So like let go of your fears, your concerns about either yourself or people. I mean, obviously, like, be concerned. Don't lose that empathy, but don't let it overwhelm you. Learn when it needs to be up front and center, and then when you need to put it behind you to focus on something else. Because, and she's always talking about self care. Almost every single section has something on self care.
Yes. And sometimes she's even like, after you do this exercise, you're going to need self care to
Yeah.
bring yourself back to yourself before you
Hmm.
continue. So I like
Well,
that too.
and she always talks about, like, hey, this is a warning because you might get into some deep, dark areas of your mental health that you need to be worried about. And that you need to seek professional help or do this or do that to like help, like, and it's like trigger warnings. And
Yeah.
some self-help books are just like, you're gonna read this, you're gonna follow along, and you're gonna change, and that's how you, it's like kind of like those pyramid schemes, like
Yeah.
multi-level,
Marketing.
yeah, marketing companies. It's like those things, like, you're
Yeah.
gonna do this and you're gonna do that and it's gonna be great, and then you just fail. And I the you can tell she's worked in addictions. Like, this is definitely like step by
Yes.
step, easy to go, like, change, like, and I really like that.
I agree. I agree completely.
Um,
Um, Also, back to talking about how she is like, let it go. She also talked, there's a specific couple of sentences that I had underlined, I'm just going to read because I've really struggled with this in my life and have recently really started to make those cuts over the, when I say recently, I mean over the past 3 or 4 years. But she
mhm,
says, I realized I had let toxic people in my life and I had to be willing to let them go. It took courage to cut them out of my life, and some of them were family. To my surprise, when I let them go, my stress was drastically reduced and my overall health began to improve. Same girl. Like,
right?
holy cow. Same. And I wrote, societal expectations make this hard, but you don't have to have someone in your life because of biology. And that doesn't mean you don't love this person. Like, you can love someone and still, like, from
It
afar.
just,
And she says
yeah,
that too somewhere.
and it's
Like,
like, if it's not healthy for you where you're currently at in your life, and you're
yes.
just trying to become the next better version of you, and if they're not in that at this very point, that doesn't mean that they're not going to come back. Like, maybe you'll be like, all right, I forgive for you for everything, but I know my boundaries now.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's just like, I mean, you have to prune a tree or a plant to like help it stay healthy, right? You have to do the same thing to your life. Like,
yeah,
you have to cut out the things that are not being beneficial to you and um, keep the things that are. So sometimes that's family members, that happens. And just
yeah,
because, like, I don't know, I'm very big on the fact that biology does not make a family. Like,
yeah.
my
And I hate
family
when
is
people are
not
like, blood's thicker than water, and it's like, yeah, and I still drown faster than I do in water, so, like, fuck you.
right. Like, go away. I don't,
Right.
it's a lot grosser
Well,
too. Do you want to go swimming in
yeah,
the blood? I don't,
right. Well, and like, continuing with the letting go, it doesn't necessarily have to be like relationships either. You could do it everyday life. Like, she made a comment about like how she's driving and she gets upset. This is also kind of like the positive thoughts, where she gets upset someone's being super slow, and she's just like, all right, I want to make this positive. Like, this person's blocking me from getting into a wreck. Like, she's letting go of that anger, those fears, all of that. And this that I was thinking about this, like, growing up and in college, like high school, college, if somebody said something mean to me, like, I wanted to do anything and everything to, like, ruin their lives. I wanted to be petty. I wanted to get like grudge worthy. And the other day at work, um somebody, we always ask people for numbers and for like their phone numbers to get their points, and right after that it tells us how you like it doesn't say how do you want your receipt or whatever, but you pick. And I always choose both email and paper because half the time people want email and I can just throw away the receipt and they can get their coupons, and it's just easier process. Somebody got really, really upset with me because I did not ask her specifically how she wanted her or her receipt. She wanted it printed and not emailed. And I said, I apologize. Just let us know how you want your receipt at the beginning of the transaction. That way we can hit the correct button for you. And she got really like shitty. She like looked at me and like did this like weird like head movement kind of thing, like attitude head. And then she's like, or I don't know, you could just ask me when you ask my number. You could do that, like when you're asking me for my number for like treat points. And I was like, well, there's 15 of us that work here, and there's possibility that one of us might not ask that. So I'm just saying for future reference, help us. Cause like,
Right.
and then she got shitty and she was like, well, I want to talk to a manager. Your attitude's horrible. And I was like, I am a manager. I'm explaining to you how, like, what could happen for your, like, to make your next visit more,
More pleasant.
yeah.
What, do you not
And
like
she
my
was
blue
like,
hair, bitch?
exactly. So I was like, okay. And I was just like, all right, whatever. Like, you're gonna, and so I just like let that go. I was upset at the moment because I was like, why are you being like this? And then she was like, well, I'm going to go talk to another manager. And then I think I was more annoyed at what my coworker, not my coworkers, but not my managers, but like a coworker did. She like walked up to the lady. The lady started saying the whole spiel to her. And then she's like, well, let me go get a manager for you. And the lady thought she was a manager. So like that pissed her off more.
uh,
And so then she was already upset. She's staring at me, like pointing to me the whole time, each person she's talking to. And like I was pissed at that moment. And then she just left, and my manager comes up to me and she goes, you did exactly what you're supposed to do. Like, I'm not going to write you up like she wants. Like, I can't help it. She's just not having a good day. Like, she shouldn't come in and
right.
ruin
Like,
everybody else's day. And I was just like, yeah, you're right. And so then I just like let it go. And let me tell you, working in retail and learning the let it go thing has been nothing but
oh
magical.
my gosh.
So
I feel like you
like,
have to.
oh yeah, and before when I worked there, I was I was an asshole. Like if you're doing something that harms other people or animals, then I will be an absolute dick to you. But if you're just rude to me because I didn't
Yeah.
ask you a question when there's 4 registers being used and there's lines going down to the back of the store, like you already waited in line for 20 minutes. What?
And
Why?
like,
Why
what
are
does
you
it hurt? Like,
right?
just
Like
delete the email. Like,
literally we send you your receipt as an email, but like you want your coupons, and the only way to get your coupons is if you get emails, and then you can't get your treat points unless your email is in there. So then,
right. Like,
but and I was like, well, we can turn off your email, and she was just like, no, I want my coupons. Well, here's what I just don't understand. Every place nowadays asks you like anywhere, how do you want your receipt? And I've gotten to the point where just I don't need a receipt unless it's like an appliance. Like other than that, I just feel like I don't
right.
need a receipt immediately. Like, are you a member here? Yeah, I don't need a receipt. Like,
Yeah.
and then she's like, you're supposed to. You expect me to remember? I don't know. I see like 400 people a day.
Right. Like, oh my
I
gosh.
was like, okay, whatever. Have a good nice day.
Right. Like, bye.
Yeah, and
Oh my
honestly, I
gosh.
was just like, okay,
What just
I
happened?
still get I mean, it's not like I lost a customer, like it's PetSmart.
Right.
We get paid regardless of who buys our stuff. So I don't know. But anyways, long story short, letting go has really, really been beneficial.
That's good. Yes, I
But
agree.
my thing is even if you let it go and you're like, you know what, they're being mean to me, I'll let karma deal with them or whatever. Would that negative thought come back on you?
Hmm.
Because like you're not necessarily wishing ill will on them. You're just saying, I'll just let karma deal with you. But are you though? Like, and unintentionally wishing ill will because like they're being mean to you because social conditioning. Like you,
Huh. I feel like you could be in that situation, but also like if you truly just let it go and like don't let it affect you and don't put any energy towards it, I
mhm,
feel like it's not. You know what I mean?
right? Yeah, and I'm a firm believer of like karma or like I wouldn't say the threefold rule, but like the energy you put out is
The
the
law of
energy you're
attraction.
going to, yeah, is what you're going to receive. So essentially karma. Um,
Yeah.
so like I don't know. But anyways, uh what is it? Um and it's really cool too because like she talks about manifesting, so like the law of attraction, all of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And it's just like consistently talking or like thinking about it and like forcing it to happen. It's like you hear the saying all the time, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like witchcraft, like pagan whatsoever, but you always hear like, stop worrying about it. It'll come, like it'll happen. But then like when people are just like, you're manifesting, that's weird. And it's like you do that all the time. Like you tell people not to
Yeah.
worry about it, but you do it. Um and it's just so weird. Like I obsessed over so many things for the longest time and I never got it. And then the moment I was just like, whatever, okay. I'll just let it ride. I'll just enjoy life. And then so much has happened in like 8 months of living
Oh, right.
because I just let it go and just let I was like, okay, this is what I want. Be done with it.
Yeah.
But she talks a lot about like writing in a journal and journaling like your wants and needs. Maybe not necessarily needs, but like your wants, because like your needs, you kind of just have to do it. Like I need
Yeah.
food, I need a job, kind of thing. But like your wants in life and relationships or whatever, she talks about like writing things down that you want to have and then circling the most important ones and then like kind of like making a goal towards those things. And because you kind of started the planning process, then like the manifestation just comes naturally at that point because you kind of have to be specific, I believe is what she said.
Yeah. You have to be specific about what you're asking for because it's kind of like careful what you wish for. Like,
Yeah.
you
It's kind of
gotta,
like when you do like the like a wish from the genie
yeah, you have
or
to be
like a gin.
specific and, what word was the word I was looking for? It's out of my head, but you have to be like cognizant of your words and what the
What you
meaning of it
truly
is.
want because you could
Kind of
say it
like
but
in
then
Aladdin when he's like, can you make me a prince? And he's like, "Psh, there's a prince, like in the Will Smith version.
oh yeah. And then
And
it's just like, okay, well, I need transportation. I need this. I need that. And he goes, ah.
yeah.
um, yeah. And it's just so weird because you could be like, well, I want fame and fortune. And it's like, how are you going to
And then
get
you're
that fame and fortune?
notorious, right? Like,
Yeah. You're like in prison. You got a lot of money because people are trying to get you out of prison, but like you murdered people. So,
right, like, ooh.
like that's the opposite of what the attraction that you want. And so that's why you got to
Or
be
fame and
really
fortune, and now
specific.
you're like dead, and your family has all the fortune because you were like murdered or something. Like,
Right.
be
Yeah.
specific.
Um,
Tell the universe exactly what you want.
yeah. But like once you get out of like the developing of your psychic skills and advancing your skills, she starts talking about like different forms of witchcraft and like psychism. So like kinesis, mantic arts. So like um flipping through a page of a book and then landing on a page and then pointing to someplace on it. And then whatever that line says, that's supposed to answer something. So, or like tarot cards, or throwing like runes or bones or something. Um, anything like that. And then she goes on to talk about working with spirits and deities, which I was kind of really excited about that because I was like, how do you find like a deity to work with? Do
Is your phone
you
ringing?
just no? Yes.
I could hear it. I was like, what is that?
I guess I can like answer it and be like, Chloe, I'm recording. Um. Anyways, I'll just let her know. Um. Anyways, so I didn't even hear it. That's so
I could
funny.
hear the vibration.
I'll flip my phone so it's on its pop socket, so you know. Like, anyways, and I was really excited about that because it's like, how do you find a deity to work with? Do you just like, oh, I like Norse or like the Norse gods, so I'm going to work with my favorite one? Like, I feel like it's more natural if you let them come to you, but she even talks about like they're not just going to come to you, like you got to entice them and to want to work with you, but it's like, huh, okay, but how do I know that I want to work with this person? Like,
Well, and she even says that like you have to do your
yeah,
research and know who you're working with because you might get somebody else.
yeah. Um, and then she goes to talk about like dreams. She even mentions channeling in the previous episode. And then she talks about dreams. So like, do you see something happening in the future? Do you get deja vu? Do you do this? Do you do that? Are you able to project yourself? Are you able to lucid dream? Do you have um what's that? Psychosis? No. Paralysis.
Uh, oh, sleep
Um
paralysis. Yeah.
yeah, so then like she works that towards the next chapter, which is talking about the beyond. So like astral traveling, portals, realms, timelines, the cosmos, all of that kind of stuff. And then she talks about flying. And when I was like, flying, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like people don't fly. But then here's the
I
thing.
I'm not gonna lie. When I first saw flying, I was like, ah. But then when I read it, I was like, okay, okay, no, I got it.
Right. Yeah, it makes so much sense. So like it's not the actual term flying like you would see on like a broomstick in Harry Potter. It's
Right.
like your inner self disassociation kind of like things. And I was like, oh, so that's what I do. Like
Right.
I
Like,
did I like completely blink what I'm doing. I'm like on autopilot. Like the body just continues going and I'm just doing my own thing somewhere else. Um and then it talks about like the paradoxes. So like different things that could change whatever and how to work your way through it. So like compartmental I can never say that word, compartmentalizing.
compartmentalization.
Yeah, that word. You ever just like see a word and you're just like, I can't say that the way it is supposed to be said? Like
Yes.
Catholic or Catholicism. I used to always say Catholicism,
Oh my god, I love it. There's
but
a lot of words that I do that with.
yeah,
And also there's this girl I follow on TikTok. Her name's Christine. Um, and she started doing some pronunciation videos, and I am dying. I'll have to send you one sometime. But I was dying.
that's so funny. What is it? Oh, and then it talks about like emotional connections and how to increase, decrease, all that kind of stuff. And then it goes into her sources and then all the words that she used, if you don't understand what they are, like there's the definitions.
Yes. And I love that too because the emotional connection part also was very like interesting to me because um I
Like
completely
empaths
believe
and all that.
that you can send out your energy and you can like this is gonna sound crazy to some people, but probably not the people listening to this podcast, I guess. Um, but like telepathy and stuff. So I
Mhm.
100% can sometimes tell somebody, like answer somebody's question without them speaking it out loud. I can do it the most with Brittany. She'll very often be like, "Did I ask you that out loud?" And I'll be like, "No," but I know what you're trying to say. Like, or she'll go to start asking me something, and I'll answer her before she finishes her thought because I already know. Um, but like we've been together for 10 years, we're so in tune with each other that we don't. I'll even sometimes do it to her. Like I'll be thinking about something, and she'll respond, and I'll be like, "I didn't say that out loud."
Yeah.
And so it's funny because that emotional connection there is so strong that we can do that. And I can do it with other people too, but it's a
Mhm.
lot easier when that emotional connection is there.
Yeah. And what else was it? Um and I also like that she tried to, like, I wouldn't say base it off science, but like bring scientific explanations into it. So
Yeah.
everyone knows what an atom is, and an atom is essentially made up, like, everyone's got millions of atoms, like that's how we're made up. And she's just like, atoms literally, it's kind of like a magnet, like you fly away, you come together, and you like intertwine with each other, and that's like the energy that you're creating. And I loved that because I was like, wow, like you get all these people who are like, well, that's not science or that's not scientific. How can you explain that? But it's like, I mean, she's got a point.
Yeah.
Like
And
you're
also,
saying this.
a lot of those same people that are like, how can you explain that? Or how can you prove that?
Mhm.
Are like going to church on Sunday. And
Right. And
again,
it's like,
if that's your jam, that's your jam. Good for you. Um, but you can't simultaneously believe in something and have faith because that's what it's all about, right? It can't be proven. Um, and then shit on someone else's beliefs that they have faith in.
right. Well,
Like,
and I mean, I even wrote that, like, because she talks about other religions, not necessarily like she uses Christianity, I think, a couple of times, just like as an example of like what they would do versus what like everybody else would do. But like I was raised Roman Catholic, and it's insane how conditioned you are to believe that that is the like one true religion, and everything else is just weird. And I honestly, when I was learning more about other things, or even when I went to like a different church, like I stayed at a friend's house, and she went to her boyfriend's church, and I went with her one Sunday. I felt like I was cheating on my church, even though they're worshiping the same type of God. Like,
yeah,
and I just felt like I was cheating. I was like, this is the inferior religion.
right. Like,
And it's like,
you've been indoctrinated and like
yeah.
made the,
And I told my grandma, I was like, "Grandma, I had a tarot reading," and like she I and this was like right after mom passed, and I was like, I understand a lot of things now. Like I feel like I have worked through this trauma, this like being upset, and you know, you'd think she'd be like, uh, oh, that's real. Like I'm glad, and like she'd maybe like cry a little bit to like, I don't know, a little bonding moment. And then no, she's just like,
right,
Emily, you know, that's against our religion. It's like, our religion, grandma. Like, I was never confirmed, and there was a reason behind it. And
right,
it's just like, she's so in like, in tune with her faith that she didn't even cry at mom's funeral because she's like, well, she's with God. She's in a better place. And you know what? If that's what got you through like the death of your child, that's fine. But that is not how I or am currently still working through. And it's just, she just like calls it devil magic is what she calls it. And I mean, my crazy aunt, who once upon a time called me the devil's child, um not even, she's not even related to me, but um she like she called me the devil's child because I did things that were like that were weird, or something that went against what religion stated, her religion at the time. I don't know, she's got like 18 different ones. But it's like Christianity literally has prophets who were essentially mediums. They talk to the people. They talk to that. Like Delphi,
yeah,
the Oracle of Delphi, she was a fucking prophet, and everyone was a okay with her.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pagan kind of religion. I mean, there's more than one god.
But I mean, we could dig real deep
Yeah,
into that
but
and like talk about all the
regardless,
similarities between paganism and Christianity, but we won't go there today.
yeah, but regardless, it's just like, is it really the superior language when you believe the same, or not even superior? Is it really devil magic when like you have stories written in your Bible that states that you have like people doing devil magic essentially? Well, God came to him and I was like, okay, and he was now called a prophet. Like, what if Freya came to me and said, take all the cats in because they need protection, and I'd be like, fuck yeah, Freya, I got you.
Right?
Like, it's the same damn
Listen, one of
thing.
these days I'm gonna be the ultimate cat lady.
Really though. uh there's like a section when she was talking about working with deities, and Lily at that time, I was reading that section and I was like, huh, I wonder what deity I would work with, like if one would want to work with me. Like, I wonder, and I was like thinking through like some different goddesses, or I let that's hold on, that's a whole other thought, I'll get to that in a second. But Lily jumped into my lap and then just like sat right in front of me on my book and just laid there.
She
It
was
was
like,
also
me,
after,
bitch.
yeah. She's like, you worship me and only me. You called me a goddess all the time. So like here I am. And I was like, is it you, Freya? Are you telling me something through my cat? And then I mean Lily talks to me, so like she's just murping away, and I was like, I knew it. I was like, maybe I'll try to work with you. Maybe that's who I'll start with. Um I mean, I honestly, I just like my cat was trying to tell me it was time to go to bed. She's ready to cuddle. She's getting in my face, but it was just funny because I was reading that at the same time. But um anyways, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Oh my gosh.
But I mean, one last final thought about it. I really enjoyed how she takes everyday things that happen to us and like kind of make an explanation behind it, because it's like
Yeah.
I can't describe how, if I'm walking at work or if I'm doing something at home and I just zone out, I know what I'm doing. I can see that I'm doing it, but I feel like I'm not present in my body,
Yeah.
but I'm doing it. And it's just like this weird feeling like I'm there but not there. And it's hard to explain. But then she just uses all these terms and I'm just like, oh, that actually makes
Right.
sense. Like
Like,
that could be
yeah,
that. So I really liked it.
I did too.
But if anyone's ever interested in learning more, she didn't talk about palmistry in her stuff, but I mean, it's a type of divination that you can, get interested in. Mine is called A Little Bit of Palmistry. I have like a little book of spells. Um,
Oh, I feel like we
and
segued really quick there and didn't explain what we were doing. So basically, we're
oh,
going to
yeah,
talk about some other books um, that we have and that we have used or are using, in addition to Gina Cole's book. Um, so that's what Emily's talking about.
yeah, sorry. I had an energy drink and a large coffee today, and I have natural anxiety, and it was a stressful day at work. So, like, I know sometimes I just think 4 miles ahead, but I'm stuck at start.
Totally random tangent here. I was recently introduced to the term decision fatigue, and I was like, holy shit. Because, like,
Oh, is that like where you make so many decisions at work that you just like you come home and you're done? You don't want to make any decisions whatsoever?
yes, yes.
Yo,
Like, literally.
yeah.
So, I am doing this for, I mean, I'm pretty transparent about all of my things. I recently learned that I have high blood pressure and have been working to try to lose some weight and to eat better just to be more healthy and cognizant of those types of things before I get too old and it's too late and I'm already like dying. Um, so I started the program called Noom, which is a psychology based
Oh,
uh, weight loss program. And it's all about changing your habits and changing your lifestyle versus dieting. So, anyway, that's where I learned the term decision fatigue, because it's all about like you have to plan out your meals for the week and what you're going to eat for dinner every day, because by the time you get home, and it happens all the time. Like if you come home at the end of the day and you're like, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want for dinner? And you go back and forth. It's because you're so exhausted from making decisions all day long that you're like, I literally cannot make another
Yeah.
decision. And I'm obsessed with it. But anyway, that was a tangent. Go ahead. Palmistry.
um yeah, so I was slow to start up this I wouldn't say lifestyle, but like this I was always intrigued with like witches, not necessarily witchcraft itself, but just like the idea of witches and like the idea of psychics and like ghosts, the paranormal. I've loved that since my walking day, like my beginning of my walking days. And um but like it was always just like this weird like Halloween thing. Like every Halloween I'd get so obsessed because like all my favorite things that I would love, like in astrology, God, I love astrology.
Oh my
But
gosh.
all of this stuff would come out and then I would just be like, "Oh, okay, well, that's should I even look at this? Like what would my family think? Would they think I'm weird? What about my friends? Would like when I
Don't
lose my
give a
friends?"
shit.
Right. So, it took me a while to learn that, but so in after college, I started getting like more involved with what I wanted to do and like I wanted to learn these things and I was like, "All right, I'm an adult. I have adult money. Fuck it. No one's going to see it." So I bought my first book was a little book of palmistry. And I started reading some things where it's like each line on your hand is significant to something or another. So I obviously don't know everything, but it was a nice starter book into understanding all of that. So that was my first book. Shortly after my mom passed, I went to it's not pagan fest, but it was like a mm, theosophical type of festival. So it was a Theofest is what they call it. It was in Illinois, and there are so many people there. So like psychics, aura readers, tarot card readers. There were Reiki, palm readers, all that kind of stuff. And they even had like a huge library gift shop kind of not I wouldn't say gift shop because that just sounds like it's touristy, but
Cheesy.
like
Yeah.
yeah. But it was like a metaphysical kind of shop. And so there was a you could be entered into a drawing to get like books of people that have written. So I won two little books. One is called Spiritual Wisdom, excuse me, on Karma and Reincarnation by Harold Klemp. And the other one was Eck Wisdom on Dreams. Why Do We Dream? Also by Harold Klemp. So I don't know how to pronounce it. Ekankar is how I want to say it, but it's ECKANKAR.org. And they have all kinds of cool information about that. And my last one was it's called Opening to Channel How to Connect with Your Spirit Guide, which is a section of Kat's book that she talks about. And it's really funny. I went with a friend of mine back in the day, and we were both kind of interested in this stuff. Like, I don't know if she's like a practicing kind of person or if she's just like interested in knowing more. But we had a mutual friend that we met at PetSmart back in Indiana, and she was raised Wiccan. So her grandma was a Wiccan, her mom was a Wiccan, she was a Wiccan. And um, she moved to Charleston, which is one of the reasons why I'm here. Because I loved the place when I visited her. But she, we learned a lot. Not, I wouldn't say a lot, but we learned how to do stuff from her. Like she was like, instead of making my own book of spells, I bought a book of spells because I just need something simple. I smudge, I do this, I do the karma thing. And she's very empathetic. So we went to Barnes and Noble for 2 hours. We roamed the aisles and we found this book, and it was so funny because we were sitting there like, this is like a self-help book. This is kind of stupid. Like, should we really be, and just fighting with our inner ego basically. And this woman comes around and she didn't even see the book that we were looking at because we had put it down and we had walked away. But she was carrying a book in her hand and she was like, "Oh, are you interested in this stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah, we're, trying to learn more. I don't know if we'd like practice it, but like we want to learn more." And she was like, "Oh, this is my favorite book." And then she literally picks up the same book that we like had just sat down and had shown us her personal book and was like, "I have notes in here. Like, I've handwritten this. I have read through this so many times that it's like torn and like worn down." And she's like, "I carry this with me all the time. It's always in my purse." And I mark places of things that I want to research further. And then she goes to this bookstore and finds books on it. And I was like, "All right, it's fate. We got to get it." So then
All
we both bought
right.
it.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So we both bought it. And I don't know if she ever read through it. I worked my way through it, but I was traveling when I was trying to read it, and I was getting nauseous when I was
Ugh.
on the plane, so I had to stop reading it, and I haven't picked it up since. But
Was this
yeah,
before
that's
you
an
got
option.
your glasses?
Yeah, this was probably like 3 years ago. I was trying to read this. So Sanaya Roman and Dwayne Packer write this book, um, and much like how uh, Kat talked about using like her guide to help write this book that she wrote. This person in here also did similar things.
Okay,
So it's actually pretty. I mean, from what I've read so far, it's pretty good. But
cool.
again, it's that self help book idea that it's like,
Well, again, I love self help books, so I have no problem with that. I love the Modern Witchcraft series. You can buy it just about anywhere. That's on Amazon. It's at Barnes and Noble. It's at lots of bookstores. They have the modern. Good lord, the Modern Guide to Witchcraft. It's by
mhm.
Sky Alexander. This one has like it's about witches, covens, spells, all kinds of different things. There's the Modern Witchcraft spell book,
Is it like
which
a two
has
in one kind of book, or is it two separate books?
two separate books. I have three. I actually have three of these books, and I have
Mm-hmm.
another one that I've ordered. It's on the way. Um, this one's about the Modern Witchcraft spell book, which is about um, crafting and casting spells. I actually got this one um, because something that I was having some rough times in my life, and I needed some extra help manifesting, and um, went and got this book to help me out, and it did, and here I am. And then the last one that I already have, I've always been very into tarot, um,
Mm-hmm.
and I have multiple decks of cards, and have been working on learning how to read them and all of that. But I have the Modern Witchcraft Guide or Book of Tarot, which it has explanations of all the different cards and like um, just how to read them and how to get in touch with your deck of cards because like tarot cards are like a living entity. It's crazy.
Yeah, honestly though,
And
I
then I
also.
have
Oh,
oh
sorry. I was gonna say I also want to learn about the Ouija.
okay, so I have always been very anti Ouija, but like after reading Kat's book, I'm
Yeah,
like much
it's
more
just a
open to it
tool.
now. I
Yeah.
literally have so when I bought my beginner like witchcraft kit from Sigil, one of the things that was in my box was a planchette. And I was like, oh, I'm never gonna use that. Like I was like, oh no, I'm never gonna use that. But like after reading Kat's book, I'm like, you know what? Maybe.
This might not be so bad. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. My mom played with the Ouija board when she was younger. Um, and she basically said nothing really happened,
Yeah.
but also like we didn't really talk about it. And I don't know if it's, she was like uncomfortable with it, or like nothing really legitimately happened. But she was
Well,
like,
and
"Yeah, we never really played with it."
I feel like also if you just get it out to play with it, it's
Yeah,
not gonna work. I feel like you have to invite
and
the
continually try.
yeah. Right. And you have to be
Well,
open to
she
it.
even says that. Yeah, she even says that, like, you're not going to get it the first try. Like, you got to continue
Right.
trying, but you also got
And
to,
you
like, make it clear,
right,
I
what
want this
your
and not that.
parameters are. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Um but yeah, and then the other book that I have that I've already ordered and it's on the way is the Modern Witchcraft Guide to the Wheel of the Year because I want to learn more about
oh,
the Sabbats and
yeah,
all of that. So, is that how you say that word? Sabbats? Yeah, I think so.
I think so. I
Anyway,
don't know. I have a
I
friend
learned
that
by
celebrates
reading.
Yule. She knows a lot. I wouldn't say a lot. I don't know. We haven't really talked about it, but we've talked about, like, some of the pagan holidays. So, like, Samhain and, like, Yule. So, we've talked about that. But anything else we haven't really talked about because it also hasn't come up. So,
Yeah, well, and like I think that's part of why I want to learn about them and why I ordered the book is because I feel like I've heard more recently over and over again how many of the like excuse me, mainstream Christianity traditions are
mhm.
actually based in paganism and like Wiccan,
Yeah, Easter,
like evergreen trees, like that's a pagan thing. So like that's
Holly.
partly why I was so yeah, that's partly why I was so interested in it because I was like, huh. So anyway, I've ordered the book. I have things
Ooh,
to say, or I will
yes, you'll
have
have to
things to
tell me how
say.
that is because I might get it too.
Yes, I
But,
will.
anyways, so if you liked what you heard today, go ahead and listen to us next time. And if you want the book that Kat Gina Cole wrote, you can find it on Amazon. I'm going to butcher this book page, but it's Llewellyn. And I think it's like a psychic witchcraft kind of pagan
Um,
based library.
it is a new age publisher that informs, educates, and inspires readers, committed to providing books and tools for exploring new worlds of mind and spirit, thereby aiding in the quest for expanded human potential and spiritual consciousness.
Cool.
I
So
had printed
you
out that.
can, oh, there you go. So you can just Google Cat, like CAT, Gina, Gina, Cole, Cole, and look her up. She has a website, so it's catginacole.com. You can also go to her shop section of that website, and it'll take you straight to two links that you can go to her book. Um, and yeah, she also offers classes and services. She does in-person live events and all of that and podcasts. She has a blog, and she even has a link to her Facebook. So this was a great book. Recommend it definitely if you're interested in magic, witchcraft, and just kind of, exploring new realms. Even if you don't want to do it, it's kind of cool to read it and get more, you
Yeah,
know, educated. So
absolutely.
yeah. And last but not least, if you are an author that is up and coming or you are seasoned of any, you have so many books out and you don't know what to do with your life, give us a ring. Email us at a cord of witches at gmail.com or contact us via our Facebook or our Instagram pages. We will get notifications and we can talk about getting you on the podcast and talk about your book. So
Absolutely.
let us know. And until next time,
Bye.
bye, witches.